My fiancé actively chooses his mom over me. My fiancé and I started seeing each other 2.5 years ago. We met in college and it immediately clicked, but we stayed closest friends for an entire year before starting to date. After a couple of weeks of regular talking, he asked me to join him and his mom for a coffee, since we coincidentally met in a store. I went with them and she knew a lot about me up front. I didn't think much of it, since I also told my mom about meeting someone great and described a few details. It was then that I realized that he still lived with his mom, being 24 at the time. Still not a big deal, since we all didn't make much or even any money during college. Only after we actually started seeing each other officially I noticed that he has a strangely close relationship with his mom. He jokingly said a couple of times that he would always choose her over me, but I can see myself as a guest in their home. Then he almost always took his mom the places we discovered together, to show her how cool it is, and we have very little us-exclusive places. A few months ago I had major troubles in my shared flat and needed to move out rather quickly. He then offered me to move in with them, which I gladly took, since my family lives too far away to still continue my daily routine. I never had a real close relationship to neither my dad nor my mom. Therefore I tried to be extra understanding and careful about that and tried to tolerate as much as possible, since I really don't know how a healthy parental relationship should look like. But there were a few things that were just too much. They have their ritual on going out for lunch and coffee every Saturday, and I was always welcome to join them. Once I was sick and he mentioned that it is so cool to have a OG day. I was hurt and even told him before they left, and he shrugged it off by saying he was joking. His mom added, "Can I get hugs and kisses from you, sweetheart? I miss this, since I don't get them since your fiancé moved in with us," while I was standing right next to them. A few weeks ago he encouraged me to start an OF account together since it would help us build our future. I asked him if it was to finance the wedding, but he said that it wasn't only for that but also for his mom to go to university again just for fun, just because she feels like entering a course out of curiosity which costs a shit ton of money. Not to forget about the Birkin bag that he wants to buy her from the money we make by selling, mostly, my body. This would be a rare occasion where we would be intimate, since he doesn't want to have sex while his mom is at home, so we basically wait like teenagers for her to go out with friends. I get more and more frustrated. Last week I received an offer for a scholarship for my next education, which is going to be the most expensive one so far. The conditions are that I sign up for the 5 following years after graduation to work wherever they need me within the country I live in. If I manage to complete this I get 80% of the paid tuition fees back. This would be when I am 29 and my fiancé 33. After telling him if he'd be willing to move out of the city to the countryside, he quickly said that I can find my own place and he'll stay with his mom in the city. And today my possible final straw happened. We both had a rough year and planned on going on vacation together. It has never been in the picture that we take her with us. She came into our room and asked if we plan on taking the car to our destination or go by train. He was stumbling around with words and best he came up with was, "We plan on taking the train, but if you want to come with us, I'll drive you of course." His understood that I was upset and went for a walk with me alone and apologized for the mess she created. She meant well by raising him as the cool parent and trying to prevent him from being emotionally scarred. She then admitted that he is way too attached to her and is amazed how I still keep up with their shit. She then told me that she is softly trying to chuck him out since she is still paying for most of his living expenses and that she wants to enjoy her recent retirement. She also told me that she stopped the extensive hugs and kisses back then after he reached a certain height where he dug his head into her breast, and it was the moment she realized she had to ease things out. I am actually still grossed out by certain details of his mom and my convo and fuming about the fact that she is now officially invited to join our planned city trip. Today I am heavily questioning if I want him to be my future husband, how I can help him to start his own life, our life, if it is worth the fight and if someone has similar experiences and how it resolved. Thanks from an only child out of a cold, more distant family structure. Update. My fiancé actively chooses his mom over me. After reading all of your advice and talking to my therapist about how to approach it in the best way possible, I made the decision to sit them both down at a table and express how their behavior is inflicting me, my mental health and everyday life. Right after finishing my monologue, his mom tried to tell me how this form of living is actually normal from an evolutionary biological perspective and tried to compare us three to wolves and their packs but didn't bother to mention apes once. Then she went on how we're doing good economical and environmental work by sharing a flat and that we could make this work somehow. She genuinely wanted to save the situation but honestly made everything worse by that. They both know that the scholarship I previously mentioned was to become a doctor. Therefore I just sat there and grinned as I said to her face how enlightened I'll leave this apartment, knowing I am now one step closer to learn about the real biological evolution and how this living conditions are nothing but vile and mental. My fiancé wanted to sit down with me alone after and was willing to put everything behind in order to keep me. I know this sounds exactly like what I originally wanted, but I just know, from being his best friend, girlfriend and now fiancé, that he is not ready for that right now. I left him the business card of a highly recommended trauma therapist that is specialized on CPTSD patients that experience trauma within their family. I'll offer to drive him there and pick him up in order to be able to decompress in silence in the car, but he'll have to do therapy all by himself. He immediately agreed since he saw how serious this situation was and called the therapist right away. He'll start to go to trauma therapy from next week on. We didn't inform his mom on that since this situation is already messed up enough. Still, I made up my mind that this is not a life worth living. I'll take the scholarship and go to med school. My fiancé and I called it quits today and have broken off the engagement officially. We still love each other but agreed on that it's best to see what time and therapy can change. It's a 4 hours drive and my fiancé will always be welcome. Currently not as my romantic partner but hopefully as my dearest friend. Thanks to all the Redditors that took their time and managed to get me back on track. From the general vibe in the previous comments section, I feel like this can be considered a happy ending.